Good morning, boys and girls. Hope you're ready for a great day. Hope you enjoyed yesterday's story about the camping trip that changed America. I hope you stopped and thought about, hey, that's pretty cool that two people can help the whole world, and actually for a lifetime, because national parks are protected forever and ever and ever. So I thought that was a really cool thing about that story. We're going to switch gears a little bit this week, and we're going to have some different types of stories. And some, yesterday's was just for fun. Hope you enjoyed it. Today, I'm going to give you a purpose. Put that thinking cap on. And I want you to think about, what's the setting of a story? Do you remember what the setting of the story is? It is the where the story is taking place. It could also be the time that the story is taking place. What season is the story taking place? Have you noticed Mrs. Boffin's settings as I've done my videos? I have found that it's best for me to be, this is my basement, to do my videos because I have good lighting and it's nice and quiet. But the setting is kind of your background of the story. And the story that I'm going to read today is called The Curious Garden, and it has a beautiful setting. And I want you to watch carefully at the pictures and how they change. And then you're going to be talking about and writing about how the setting is changing throughout the story. So get your good eyes on. Think about again what the setting of a story is. Get all comfy, and I'll get started. You ready? There once was a city without gardens, trees, or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. And I love the word dreary. It's such a great adjective. And if you look at the picture, it doesn't look like a very happy place to be. I think dreary is a great word to describe that. However, there was one little boy who loved being outside, and I know I have some of you that just really enjoy being outside as well. Even on drizzly days, while everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. It was on one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He wandered around the old railroad, as he did from time to time, and when he stumbled upon the dark stairwell leading up to tracks, the railroad had stopped working ages ago. But since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. What does the word curious mean? Can you go find somebody to tell what that word means to? I have many curious friends sitting in front of me watching this video today. And being curious is a wonderful thing to be. It will make you smarter in life. Are you still looking at those pictures? Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last things he expected to find up there. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. How many of you have been able to help mom or dad out in the yard the last couple days since it's gotten so much nicer? I know Mr. Boffman mowed the yard and we started to pick some weeds. They're starting to join the Boffman backyard. So we picked some weeds the other day, and we have some yard work we need to do at our house. Liam may not have been a gardener, excuse me, but he knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems, but the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. So he wasn't really good at it at the beginning. He was having some trouble. But the plants were pretty hardy, and they probably liked the attention. Oh, excuse me, I need a quick drink. Thank you. As the weeks rolled by, Liam began to feel like a real gardener, and the plants began to feel like a real gardener. So this is where I want you to start looking at the pictures and the setting. I want you to remember that this is where Liam is, and this is what he's working on. So watch very carefully. Most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. Though the little weeds and mosses were the first to move, they popped up farther and farther down the tracks, were closely followed by more delicate plants. So they're just kind of moving along. Over the next few months, Liam and the curious garden explored every corner of the railway. Oh, look at this. Isn't it a beautiful picture? One of my favorite flowers is a daisy, and this is a whole big grouping of daisies. Aren't they fun? Daisies make me smile. And I love this. Now look at, when we were at the beginning of the book, we heard that word dreary. And now look, can you give me an adjective that might describe what the picture or the setting is looking like now? I don't believe we would use dreary anymore. Do you have a word that you'd like to share with someone? Please do. After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he'd become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. Now, we didn't get very much snow this winter. It might have been fun to get a big snowstorm. That looks like fun to Mrs. Boffman. Not now, though. We're done with snow, I hope. Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent preparing for spring. And look at what's he doing? He's reading about his plants. After 3 cold months of snow finally began to melt, Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. Look at, he's got a whole wheelbarrow full of things. Winter had taken its toll on the garden, but thanks to Liam's planting, his handy new tools, and little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. And you might find that there are things in your gardens at home that are waking up from the winter sleep. I know I've noticed some things in my garden, and it really makes me happy. The garden has always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up further and further from the railway, were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. Do you have a patio outside that might have, and Mrs. Boffman does, and right now I have nothing pretty coming up in my patio, but Mr. Boffman and I noticed that there are a few pesky weeds poking their ways up into our patio. And look at this, is cool. This looks like an abandoned old car that some of the plants found a place to nestle into. A few plants popped up where they didn't belong. Look at that. Others mysteriously popped up all at once. How do you think that's happening, boys and girls? Why are so many plants popping up? And how do you think the different people in this town are feeling with these new plants? But the most surprising thing that popped up were the new gardeners. What do you think that means? And why do you think there are new gardeners in this town? And look what they've done. I love these. These are called topiaries, and you can take bushes and carve them into shapes. And look at this one, Mrs. Boffman's favorite, an elephant. These two pages make me really happy. Have you noticed how the setting is changing? And can you give me another adjective to tell me something about this beautiful setting? Many years later, the entire city had blossomed. But of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was back where it started. Look at, he's back at the railroad tracks. Why do you think that was his favorite? I wonder why. And look what happened now, boys and girls. Isn't this a cool picture? I just love it. And if we go back to the beginning, here it is, kind of dreary. And here we are now. What adjective would you use to describe this picture here? I don't think we'd use dreary anymore. How has the setting changed throughout the story? And here's another question. Who helped the setting change throughout the story? Do you think you could be curious like Liam and make some changes around your home or in Carol Stream somehow? Think about that. It only takes one person. And I think the last couple of stories that I have shared have taught us that we can all make a difference in the world. Well, I hope you enjoyed the story as much as I do. These pictures make me happy. And I might, although it's supposed to rain, I think, today. Haroon, you'll have to let us know later. I might go play out in my garden today now after reading this fun story. Hope you guys have a great day. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I miss you like crazy, and I love you an awful lot. Have a great day of learning. Make some good choices at home. And I will see you again tomorrow. Have a great day, guys.